Well, hello there, family. Welcome back to Grandma's Kitchen. Today we're making Sunday pot roast, that tender, fall-apart beast that's been slow cooking for hours with carrots and potatoes and onions, all swimming in rich, savory gravy. But this isn't just any pot roast recipe. This is the pot roast Grandma made every single Sunday for 40 years straight. The meal that held our family together week after week. The ritual we took completely for granted until the one Sunday in November 1998 when Grandma got pneumonia and couldn't cook. And while this pot roast is cooking low and slow in the oven, filling the house with that incredible smell of beef and herbs, I'm going to tell you about the Sunday our family fell completely apart because the pot roast wasn't there. About learning the hard way that rituals aren't about the food, and about understanding that the structure of gathering together is what keeps families connected. This isn't just about cooking pot roast. This is about ritual, about consistency, about the invisible threads that hold families together, and about what happens when those threads suddenly aren't there. Before we start cooking, I need to tell you about Sunday dinner in Black Southern families, because this tradition goes deep and means more than just eating a meal together. In traditional Black households, Sunday dinner is sacred. It's the one meal every week when the whole family gathers, when you come together no matter what else is happening in your life, when you sit down at a table and be family. It usually happens in the early afternoon after church, around 2 or 3 o'clock, and it's a full meal. Pot roast or fried chicken or baked ham, vegetables, rolls, dessert, the works. Sunday dinner isn't optional. It's not come if you feel like it or show up when convenient. It's mandatory. You're expected to be there. You plan your life around it. You don't schedule things on Sunday afternoons because that's family time. Weddings get planned for Saturday so they don't conflict with Sunday dinner. Vacations get scheduled so you're back by Sunday. Work schedules get arranged so Sunday afternoons are free. This tradition comes from generations of Black families understanding that in a world that often tried to break us apart, to separate us, to destroy our families, we had to intentionally create spaces and times to stay connected. Sunday dinner was that space, that time. Every single week, without fail, you gathered. You sat at a table together. You ate food cooked with love. You talked, you laughed, you argued sometimes. You worked things out. In our family, Sunday dinner happened at Grandma and Grandpa's house every single Sunday for 40 years. 40 years. That's over 2,000 Sundays of the same ritual, the same pattern, the same rhythm. Every Sunday at 3 p.m., the family would start arriving. My mama and daddy and me and my brothers, my aunts and uncles, my cousins. Sometimes 20 people, sometimes 30, depending on who was in town. We'd gather in Grandma's living room and kitchen, talking and catching up while food finished cooking. Then at exactly 3:30, Grandma would call everyone to the table. We'd all find our seats. And yes, everyone had their own spot. You sat in the same place every week. And Grandpa would say grace. Then we'd eat. For hours. We'd eat pot roast and vegetables and rolls, and we'd talk about our week. And kids would eventually get excused to go play, while adults lingered at the table, talking and drinking coffee and eating dessert. It was ritual. It was rhythm. It was the heartbeat of our family. And the centerpiece, the anchor, the thing that made it all work was Grandma's Sunday pot roast. Every single Sunday, Grandma made pot roast. The same recipe, the same way, week after week. You could count on it, the way you count on the sun rising. Sunday meant roast, meant Sunday. It was that reliable until November 15th, 1998, the Sunday Grandma got pneumonia. I was 11 years old. That week, Grandma had been fighting what she thought was a bad cold. By Friday, it had gotten worse. By Saturday, she was really sick. Saturday night, Grandpa took her to the emergency room, and they admitted her with pneumonia. Serious pneumonia. She was in the hospital on IV antibiotics, struggling to breathe. Sunday morning, my mama got the call from Grandpa. Grandma was going to be okay, but she'd be in the hospital for several days. She definitely would not be home for Sunday dinner. My mama called around to the family. Mama's in the hospital with pneumonia. She's going to be fine, but obviously there's no Sunday dinner today. And here's what happened. People said, "Okay, thanks for letting me know." And then they showed up anyway. Not because anyone organized it, not because we planned to gather without Grandma, but because for 40 years, every single Sunday, we'd gone to Grandma's house at 3 p.m. It was so ingrained, so automatic, that even knowing Grandma wasn't there and wouldn't be cooking, people showed up out of pure habit. Let me teach you how to make pot roast the way Grandma made it every Sunday for 40 years. I've got a 3 to 4 pound chuck roast here. Chuck roast is the best cut for pot roast because it has enough fat and connective tissue that when you cook it low and slow, it becomes incredibly tender and flavorful. First step is seasoning the meat generously. I'm patting the roast dry with paper towels, then seasoning it all over with salt, black pepper, garlic powder, and onion powder. I'm being generous with the seasoning because this is a big piece of meat. Now I'm heating 2 tablespoons of oil in a large, heavy Dutch oven over medium-high heat. Once the oil is shimmering hot, I'm carefully placing the roast in the pot and searing it. I'm going to sear it for about 4 to 5 minutes per side until it's deeply browned all over. This browning creates flavor through the Maillard reaction, and it creates those brown bits on the bottom of the pot that will become the base of our gravy. That Sunday, November 15th, 1998, around 2:30 p.m., my family started arriving at Grandma's house even though we all knew she wasn't there. Grandpa was there. He'd come home from the hospital to shower and change clothes before heading back. He was surprised to see people showing up. "There's no dinner today," he said as my aunt and uncle walked in. "Rose is in the hospital." I thought everyone knew. "We know," my Aunt Joyce said. "We just thought we'd stop by anyway, see how you're doing." But it wasn't really about checking on Grandpa. It was about the pull of ritual, the automatic nature of 40 years of the same pattern every Sunday. By 3 p.m., most of the family was there, standing around awkwardly in the kitchen and living room. No smell of pot roast cooking, no table set for dinner, no Grandma calling everyone to sit down, just people who'd shown up because Sunday meant Grandma's house, and we didn't know what else to do. My roast is beautifully seared now, browned on all sides. I'm removing it from the pot and setting it on a plate. In the same pot, with all those flavorful brown bits, I'm adding 3 large chopped onions, 4 large carrots cut into chunks, and 4 stalks of celery chopped. I'm cooking these vegetables over medium heat for about 8 minutes, stirring and scraping up all those brown bits from the bottom. This is building the flavor foundation for our pot roast. After the vegetables have softened and started to caramelize slightly, I'm adding 6 cloves of minced garlic and cooking for another minute until fragrant. Then I'm adding 3 tablespoons of tomato paste and cooking it for 2 minutes, stirring constantly. The tomato paste adds depth and richness. Now I'm sprinkling in 3 tablespoons of all-purpose flour and stirring to coat the vegetables. The flour will help thicken the gravy later. I'm cooking this for about 2 minutes, stirring constantly so the flour doesn't burn. Then I'm adding 4 cups of beef broth, 1 cup of red wine, 3 bay leaves, several sprigs of fresh thyme, 2 tablespoons of Worcestershire sauce, and 1 teaspoon of black pepper. I'm bringing this to a simmer, stirring to make sure the flour doesn't clump and everything is well combined. Now, I'm returning the seared roast to the pot, nestling it into the liquid and vegetables. The liquid should come about halfway up the sides of the roast. I'm covering the pot with a tight-fitting lid. This is going into a 325-degree oven for about 2.5 to 3 hours. Low and slow is the only way to make pot roast tender. The collagen in the meat needs time to break down into gelatin, which is what makes the meat fall apart tender and makes the gravy rich and silky. That's Sunday at Grandma's house. Without Grandma, without pot roast, the family didn't know what to do with itself. We stood around for maybe 15 minutes, making awkward small talk about Grandma's condition, about the hospital, about nothing important. Then the kids started getting restless and difficult. Normally by this time we'd be sitting down to eat, which gave kids structure and something to focus on. But with no meal, no table to sit at, no ritual to follow, kids started acting wild. My cousins started fighting over the TV remote. Someone knocked over a plant. Kids were running through the house yelling, and adults were yelling at kids to calm down. The adults weren't much better. Without the structure of a meal to prepare and serve, without assigned seats at a table, without the natural flow of eating together, people didn't know how to be together. Conversations felt forced and awkward. People stood in clusters, not knowing where to position themselves or what to do with their hands. Around 3:45, someone suggested ordering pizza so we could at least eat together. My Uncle James shook his head firmly. It's not the same. It feels wrong. We can't eat pizza at Mama's table on Sunday. That's not what we do here. He was right. The idea of eating pizza at Grandma's house on Sunday felt fundamentally wrong, like violating sacred space. It didn't fit. It couldn't work. Around 4 p.m., someone suggested we all go visit Grandma at the hospital together, but the ICU only allowed 2 visitors at a time, so that wouldn't work for 25 people. Without the structure of dinner holding us there, without the ritual that normally kept us gathered for hours, people started getting uncomfortable. The space felt wrong. The timing felt wrong. Everything felt wrong. After about 2 hours in the oven, I'm carefully removing the pot and adding chunks of Yukon Gold potatoes and more large carrot pieces around the roast, nestling them into the liquid. These vegetables will cook in that flavorful braising liquid and become incredibly delicious. I'm covering the pot again and returning it to the oven for another hour to hour and a half. By 4:30 that Sunday, barely 90 minutes after people had arrived, the family was falling apart. An argument broke out between 2 of my uncles about something trivial: whose turn it was to visit Grandma or who was going to coordinate meals for Grandpa. Something minor that normally would have been resolved easily during long dinner hours. But without that structure, the disagreement escalated quickly. My Aunt Patricia announced she was leaving. She gathered up her kids and walked out. Then another family left. By 5 p.m., everyone was gone except my immediate family. We sat in Grandma's living room with Grandpa, and the house felt so empty, so wrong, so broken. "I don't understand what just happened," my mama said quietly. "We've been gathering here every Sunday for 40 years. Why couldn't we manage it for 2 hours without Mama cooking?" And Grandpa, who'd been quiet through everything, said something I've never forgotten. He said, "Because we never learned how to be together without the pot roast. We thought we were gathering for dinner, but the dinner was gathering us. It was creating structure, giving us something to do, giving us a way to be together. Without it, we don't actually know how to be family." That hit hard. For 40 years, we'd been showing up thinking we were coming for pot roast, but the pot roast was doing something much more important than feeding us. It was creating structure. It was holding us together in ways we'd never noticed because it had always just been there. My pot roast has been cooking for about 3.5 hours total now. I'm checking it with a fork. The meat should be so tender it's falling apart. The vegetables should be soft and have absorbed all that wonderful flavor. The liquid should have reduced into a rich, thick gravy. This is perfect. The meat is fork tender, the vegetables are perfectly cooked, the gravy is rich and savory. This is what Sunday is supposed to smell like, taste like. That evening, after everyone had left, my mama and my aunts had a conference call. They talked about what had happened, about how the family had completely come undone. "We can't let this happen next Sunday," Aunt Joyce said. "Mama's still gonna be recovering, but we can't have what happened today happen again. Should we just cancel Sunday dinners until Mama's better?" someone suggested. "No," my mama said firmly. "Today proved we need Sunday dinner more than we realized. We need the structure. We need the ritual. We just need to figure out how to maintain it, even when Mama can't be the one cooking. They decided Uncle James would host the following Sunday at his house, and he would cook pot roast. He'd never made pot roast before, didn't really know how, but my mama would help him and they'd figure it out. That next Sunday, November 22nd, we gathered at Uncle James's house. He'd gotten up early, called my mama in a panic at 8 a.m., and she'd walked him through making pot roast over the phone. The family showed up around 3 p.m., uncertain about how this would go. Uncle James's pot roast was honestly pretty terrible. The meat was tough because he hadn't cooked it long enough. The gravy was lumpy. The vegetables were overcooked. It was not good. But you know what? Everyone came. Everyone sat at Uncle James's dining room table at 3:30 p.m. Everyone ate that terrible pot roast, and nobody complained. Kids sat in their assigned seats just like at Grandma's house. Grandpa said grace just like always. We passed bowls around just like always. We stayed until almost 8 p.m., talking and being together. Because we'd learned something the previous Sunday. We'd learned that the ritual mattered more than the quality of the food. We'd learned that what held us together wasn't Grandma's perfect pot roast. It was the act of showing up, sitting down together, being family on a schedule we could count on. After dinner, we all drove to the hospital and visited Grandma 2 at a time. And we told her about Uncle James's terrible pot roast, and she laughed so hard she started coughing. "I'm glad you gathered anyway," she said. "I was worried the family would fall apart without me there to cook." But James making pot roast, even though he didn't know how, that shows he understands. It's not about making it perfectly, it's about showing up and doing it. Grandma was in the hospital for 8 days. For those 2 Sundays she missed, family members took turns hosting and cooking. The pot roasts varied in quality, but everyone showed up. Everyone sat down together. Everyone stayed, because we'd learned that the ritual was what mattered. When Grandma finally came home and was strong enough to cook again, she made pot roast that first Sunday back, and it was like the world had been set right. The family gathered at her house, everything was in its proper place, and the rhythm of 40 years resumed. But something had changed. We didn't take it for granted anymore. We understood now that what we'd been showing up for all those years wasn't just dinner. It was structure. It was ritual. It was the invisible architecture that held our family together. Look at this pot roast. The meat is so tender, it's falling apart. The vegetables are perfectly cooked. The gravy is rich and flavorful. This is comfort food in its truest form. This is what Sunday is supposed to be. But what I learned from the Sunday the pot roast wasn't there, from watching my family fall apart in 90 minutes without the ritual we'd relied on for 40 years, is that food is never just food when it's part of a ritual. It's structure. It's the framework that holds people together. It's the reason to gather and the way to stay gathered. I also learned that rituals have to be protected and maintained, even when the original person who created them can't do it anymore. When Grandma got sick, we could have let Sunday dinners just stop, but we didn't. We figured out how to keep the ritual going, even when Grandma couldn't lead it, because we understood how much we needed it. And I learned that perfection isn't the point. Uncle James's terrible pot roast served the same purpose as Grandma's perfect pot roast, because he showed up, he tried, he created the space for family to gather. That's what mattered. Not the quality of the food, but the commitment to the ritual. Rituals hold families together in ways we don't see until they're gone. They create patterns we can count on, spaces where we know how to be together, structures that survive arguments and disagreements, because there's always next Sunday. Without rituals, families drift, people get busy, weeks turn into months without seeing each other. But with rituals, with the non-negotiable, every week show up no matter what rituals, families stay connected. Grandma made pot roast every Sunday for the rest of her life after that pneumonia scare. Another 7 years, every single Sunday without fail. until she passed away in 2005. And after she died, the family kept the tradition going. We rotated houses. Different family members took turns hosting and cooking. Some pot roasts were great, some were mediocre, some were honestly bad. But we showed up. Every Sunday at 3 p.m., we gathered somewhere, we ate pot roast, we sat at a table together. Because we understood now that this wasn't Grandma's tradition, it was our tradition. It belonged to all of us. Thank you for being here with me in Grandma's kitchen today. Thank you for letting me teach you how to make Sunday pot roast, and for letting me share the story of the Sunday it wasn't there, and what that taught us about family and ritual, and what really holds us together. I hope you'll make this pot roast. More importantly, I hope you'll consider what rituals hold your family together. And I hope you'll protect those rituals and teach younger generations why they matter. Next time in Grandma's Kitchen, we'll make another soul food classic, and I'll share another story about family, tradition, and love. Till then, take care. Make some pot roast. Create rituals with your family. Show up consistently, even when it's hard. And remember, it's never really about the food. It's about the gathering, the structure, the commitment to being together. That's what holds families together across decades. God bless you, family. 16:9 Documentary-style photograph capturing family crisis. Main focus: family scattered awkwardly around Grandma's living room, November 15th, 1998. 25 people standing in clusters, not knowing what to do, looking uncomfortable. Kids fighting in background, adults with arms crossed, looking lost. Foreground: empty kitchen where pot roast should be cooking, stove cold, no food. Grandpa sitting alone, looking sad. Clock showing 4:30 p.m., only 90 minutes since arrival. Middle: Aunt Patricia gathering her kids to leave early, others heading toward door. Visual messaging: family disintegrating without structure. No assigned seats, no meal, no ritual. Chaos. Documentary realism: natural, uncomfortable lighting. Text overlay zone: what happens when a 40-year ritual disappears? Color: uncomfortable muted tones, empty kitchen, scattered family, visible tension. Mood: we fell apart in 90 minutes. Ritual removed, chaos. Families need structure.